All right, folks, get ready for a wild ride, because today we're diving deep into the world of military might. And let me tell you, things got a little unexpected. We asked 5 different AIs, those brainy computer programs, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Grok, and Copilot, to rank the top 10 militaries in the world. You'd think with all their processing power, all that data they can crunch, they'd get it right. Well, not so fast. There's a pretty major oversight in most of their lists. We're talking about a country whose military strength, it's kind of hard to ignore.
It really makes you think, doesn't it, how these AI assessments, even with their ability to analyze mountains of data, can still miss some pretty crucial elements when it comes to figuring out true military power.
Exactly. So let's jump right into it. Starting with number 10, we got a mixed bag. Copilot went with Italy, highlighting their strategic location right there in the Mediterranean and their well-equipped and trained forces. ChatGPT, on the other hand, chose Turkey, emphasizing their large military and their role as a key NATO member in a pretty volatile region.
It's like they're each focusing on different pieces of the puzzle. Italy's location, that gives them a real strategic advantage, controlling access to the Mediterranean. And Turkey, with their large and increasingly modern military, they play a critical role in the balance of power in the Middle East.
Makes you wonder what criteria the AIs are prioritizing, right? All right, moving up to number 9, things get even more diverse. Copilot went with Pakistan, pointing to their large and experienced army and their, shall we say, robust missile program. ChatGPT went in a totally different direction, choosing Germany, highlighting their technological know-how and their vital role in NATO's defense capabilities. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Grok also picked Pakistan, emphasizing their nuclear capabilities, not to mention their large number of troops. And get this, both Gemini and Claude agreed with Grok, putting Pakistan at number 9 as well.
A 3-way AI consensus on Pakistan. That's definitely noteworthy. Their nuclear arsenal, especially considering their relationship with India, it's a significant factor in their military ranking, for sure. And Germany, they've reemerged as a major player in European defense, no doubt about that.
Okay, on to number 8, and we have another tie. Copilot, Grok, and Gemini all picked Turkey for this spot. They pointed to Turkey's modernizing military, their strategic location, and the fact that they've been pretty active in regional conflicts.
It's all about location, location, location. Turkey's position, straddling Europe and the Middle East, makes them a crucial player on the geopolitical chessboard. They're a NATO member, but they also have their own agenda, which sometimes, let's just say it puts them in some tricky situations.
Now, ChatGPT decided to shake things up a bit and rank South Korea at number 8. Highlighting their constant state of readiness, always on guard, and their super advanced military technology.
Yeah, you can't really compare South Korea's situation to anyone else's. With North Korea right there on their doorstep, they've had to develop a top-notch, always ready military.
It's like living in a constant state of what if, right?
Yeah.
All right, moving on to number 7, and we have a unanimous decision. Japan. All 5 AIs, Copilot, ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, and Claude, all put Japan in this spot.
Japan often gets more attention for their economic power, but their military capabilities are nothing to sneeze at.
Right. They've got some serious tech, they're focused on maritime defense, and they've got that ironclad alliance with the United States.
Yeah, their Navy and Air Force are impressive, very modern destroyers and advanced fighter jets. And that close relationship with the U.S., it gives them access to intel sharing and joint training that, it really boosts their capabilities.
At number 6, we see a bit of a split again. ChatGPT, Copilot, and Gemini all chose the United Kingdom, praising their professional military, those shiny new aircraft carriers, and their major contributions to NATO operations all over the world.
The UK might have scaled back their defense spending a bit, but they're still a global player. Those aircraft carriers are a big deal. They can deploy a serious air wing anywhere, which is a capability not many countries have.
True. Now, Grok went a different route and placed South Korea at number 6, continuing to emphasize their high-tech military and that massive, well-trained reserve force they have.
South Korea's military. It's built for one thing, keeping North Korea at bay. They've poured resources into technology, especially in artillery and missile defense, because of the specific threats they face.
Okay, folks, we're getting to the heavy hitters now. At number 5, we have South Korea again. Chosen by Copilot and ChatGPT, they emphasize South Korea's technological advancements, their modern training programs, and that constant state of readiness.
You can't overstate their commitment to being prepared. They're always running large-scale exercises, constantly fine-tuning their defenses, making sure they can respond to anything that comes their way from the north.
Now, Gemini, Grok, and Claude went with the United Kingdom for this spot, reiterating their global reach and their focus on, quality over quantity when it comes to military power.
The UK's military might not be as big as it once was, but they're highly trained, well-equipped, and they've got a level of experience that's hard to beat.
Coming in at number 4, we have India, chosen by Copilot, ChatGPT, and Gemini. They highlighted India's sheer size, one of the largest militaries on the planet, their regional influence, and that skyrocketing defense budget. It's clear they've got ambitions to be a major player on the world stage.
Their modernization program is really something to watch. They're investing in cutting-edge tech, looking for new sources of weapons, and building up their own defense industry.
Grok and Claude also chose India for number 4, specifically mentioning their growing navy and you can't forget about their nuclear arsenal, which is a major factor in that region.
Yeah, India's nuclear capabilities are a big part of their defense strategy, especially when you consider their history with Pakistan. They've got a no-first-use policy, which means they won't use nukes unless someone else does first. But just having them, that definitely changes the whole strategic game.
All right, ready for the top 3.
Hit me with it.
At number 3, we have China. And this one was a clean sweep. All 5 AIs, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Grok, and Copilot. They were all in agreement on this one. They all pointed to China's rapid military modernization, their global ambitions, that ever-growing military budget, and their development of some pretty scary technologies, like hypersonic missiles.
You can't deny it. China's rise as a military power has been incredible to watch. They've gone from a mostly land-based force focused on protecting their own region to a modern military with global reach, investing heavily in their Navy, Air Force, and, those hypersonic missiles that could potentially outmaneuver even the most advanced defense systems.
They're also expanding their Navy and trying to set up a network of bases and partnerships around the world, kind of like what the United States has.
Some people see their Belt and Road Initiative as having a dual purpose. On the one hand, it's about economic development, but it also helps them secure access to strategic ports and locations, places that could support their growing naval presence.
Interesting. Okay, so coming in at number 2, and this probably won't shock anyone, we have Russia. ChatGPT, Claude, Copilot, and Grok all put them here, emphasizing their formidable military, their massive nuclear arsenal, their combat experience from places like Syria and Ukraine, their advanced missile tech.
Russia's been a major military power for a long time. They inherited a lot from the Soviet Union. Their nuclear weapons are a big deterrent, and their recent military actions, they show they're not afraid to use force to protect their interests.
They also pointed out Russia's influence in global politics, so they often stir things up a bit in international affairs.
Their cyber capabilities, for example, are a major concern for a lot of countries. They've been accused of messing with elections, spreading fake news, and even launching cyber attacks against critical infrastructure. All that, plus their more assertive foreign policy, it's definitely raised tensions globally.
Now, Gemini actually placed Russia at number 3, acknowledging their military strength and industrial base, but also pointing out that some recent conflicts have, let's just say they've revealed some weaknesses in their logistics and planning.
That's a good point. They might look powerful on paper, but what we've seen in Ukraine, for example, suggests that they have some vulnerabilities, especially when it comes to logistics, command and control, and coordinating their different military branches.
And now, drumroll please, the number 1 spot goes to, you probably guessed it, the United States. All 5 AIs put the U.S. at the top, citing that massive military budget, which is bigger than anyone else on the list by a long shot. Their technological dominance, we're talking air, naval, cyber, space, the whole shebang. And then there's their global military presence, hundreds of bases and partnerships all over the world.
The U.S. has been considered the top dog for a long time, and their military definitely backs that up. The amount they invest in research and development, their network of allies, their ability to project force anywhere, it makes them a force to be reckoned with.
They also highlighted the U.S.'s combat experience, decades of involvement in conflicts around the world, and their incredible logistics infrastructure. They can basically deploy and sustain forces anywhere on the planet.
That global reach, the ability to move troops and equipment so quickly and efficiently, it's really impressive.
But now here's where things get really interesting. Remember that glaring omission we talked about earlier?
Ah, yes. Time to address the elephant in the room.
It's exactly. Where do you think Israel landed on these AI-generated lists?
Well, that's where even the smartest AI shows its limits, I guess. Let's unpack this whole Israel thing. I mean, their military capabilities are pretty well known, right? But these AIs, they kind of fumbled when it came to putting them where they belong on the global stage.
It's wild, isn't it? Claude stuck them way down at number 7. Can you believe that?
Mm.
And Gemini only even mentioned them after I specifically asked about them. Like, hello, did you forget about a whole country?
Yeah.
And ChatGPT, well, they completely blanked on Israel in their top 10. Grok at least put them at number 9. Copilot was the closest, ranking them 10th, right behind Italy. It's like, what's going on here? What are we missing?
It is a head-scratcher. You've got Israel, mandatory military service, so their population is super well-trained and experienced right out of the gate. And the tech. Don't even get me started on the tech. The Iron Dome, intercepting thousands of rockets with crazy accuracy. And we can't forget their history of successful military operations, often against the odds, in a region where they're, well, let's just say they're not exactly surrounded by friends.
Yeah, they're known as the startup nation, but maybe they should be called the comeback kid nation when it comes to their military track record.
Exactly. So why did the AIs miss the boat? What's the AI blind spot here?
Break it down for me. What are we not seeing?
It seems like the AIs might have gotten caught up in the numbers, game budgets, troop numbers, equipment lists. Those are important, sure, but they don't tell the whole story. When you're talking about military strength, there are these qualitative things that are way harder to measure and feed into an algorithm.
Okay, I'm with you. So what are some of these hard-to-measure elements that might have tripped up the AIs?
Combat experience. For one, you can't just quantify that by looking at deployments. It's about the lessons learned, the ability to adapt, the strategic thinking that comes from actually being tested in battle, the strategic genius of leaders, how they outsmart their opponents. That stuff doesn't show up in a spreadsheet.
So it's not just about having the tools, but knowing how to use them effectively in the real world.
Right. And then you've got the national will, that will to fight, the grit that can make a seemingly weaker force incredibly tough. This is especially important for Israel. Their history, the constant threats they face, it's built this incredible determination to defend their country.
It's like that saying, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. In Israel, they've got a whole lot of fight in them.
Perfect analogy. And that brings us to another potential AI limitation biases in the data. A lot of what these AIs learn comes from public information, which might not give you the full picture about a country like Israel that operates with more secrecy.
So if a country's keeping their true capabilities under wraps, the AI might be working with incomplete information.
Exactly. It's like trying to judge a book by its cover. When some of the pages are glued shut, you're going to miss a big chunk of the story.
So what does this mean for us trying to make sense of the world, especially when it comes to figuring out who has the strongest military?
It all comes down to thinking critically. AI can be an amazing tool, no doubt, but it's important to remember that it's only as good as the data it's trained on. And that data might not capture the full picture of human behavior and strategic thinking, especially in something like military analysis.
So we can't just blindly trust the algorithms when we're talking about something as complex as military power. We have to look beyond the numbers, think critically.
Exactly. And that brings us to another thought-provoking question. What are some other things, beyond what the AI considered, that might be crucial for assessing a nation's true military strength? Things that go beyond just numbers and equipment lists.
I think the AIs did a decent job with some of the easier to measure things, budgets, personnel, equipment. But like you said, it's those harder to quantify elements like combat experience, strategic thinking, the will to fight that they seem to miss. And then there are those wild card factors that could totally change the game.
Oh, like what? Give me an example.
Cyber warfare, for instance. It's a relatively new type of warfare, and its impact can be huge. A country with superior cyber capabilities could cripple an enemy's infrastructure and communications, even if that enemy has a larger traditional military.
Great point. And it highlights the fact that military strength is constantly evolving, influenced by technology, geopolitics, even cultural factors.
Like trying to hit a moving target, right?
Yeah.
Which is why it's so important to have these discussions and question our assumptions, even when those assumptions come from a fancy AI.
I totally agree. We got to keep learning, asking questions, looking at things from different angles. That's how we get a better understanding of this whole military power landscape.
So I think it's time we turn the tables a bit. What about you, our listener? What factors do you think are most important when it comes to a nation's military strength? What's your top 3?
We'd love to hear from you. Jump into the comments and let us know.
Do your personal top 10 rankings line up with what the AIs came up with? Or did they miss something crucial? Let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of funny. We think of AI as all-knowing, right? But this whole deep dive, it really shows us that even the fanciest algorithms have blind spots.
It really is fascinating. The whole exercise just shows how important human judgment still is. Even in something like military rankings, which you'd think would be pretty objective, the AIs were great with the numbers, but when it came to those less tangible, more qualitative aspects, the things that really matter on the battlefield, they just didn't quite grasp it.
Like they were missing some key ingredients, right? In their recipe for military power.
Exactly. They had the raw data, but they missed the secret sauce, that blend of history, culture, geography, psychology, all those things that shape a nation's true military capability. It's that commitment to a cause, the ingenuity, the willingness to fight for something bigger than yourself.
Yeah, those are hard things to program into an algorithm, no matter how smart it is.
It also shows how important it is for humans to be involved, to oversee these AI insights. We can't just take what the algorithm gives us at face value. We need to understand the context, the limitations, any biases that might be built in.
It's a good reminder that AI is a tool, a powerful tool, yeah? But still a tool. And it's up to us to use it responsibly, question its outputs, and use our own judgment and knowledge to make sense of the results.
Absolutely. And that brings us back to Israel, their unique place in the world. The AIs might have missed the mark, but their military strength goes way beyond just numbers and equipment.
It's almost like they've turned their challenging situation into an advantage.
Yeah.
Surrounded by potential enemies, limited resources, it's forced them to be innovative, resourceful, incredibly efficient with their military.
Exactly. They've had to punch above their weight, so to speak, and that gives them a certain edge.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's something to think about. How do you see Israel's unique situation impacting the future of global power? Will their model, this small but incredibly capable and technologically advanced military, will it become more common? Will other countries try to follow their lead?
It's a really interesting question.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Head over to the comments and let us know. What do you think?
And as always, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into military power and artificial intelligence. It's been a thought-provoking journey, and we hope you've learned something new about what it really means to assess a nation's military strength.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into all sorts of fascinating topics. And hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single episode. Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring, and keep those comments coming.